how to introduce a season that has so many things going for it. One of the things I really love are the fact that we have decided within one season to perform the 6 concertos that Shostakovich wrote. And they are a part of his artistic personality that I think is very important for an audience that already knows so much about Shostakovich. The season opens, though, my first major concert at the beginning of October, with one of the great 20th century ballets, Daphnis and Chloe. Ravel's concept of sound is very particular, and it's like no one else. Many composers create their sound from external influences and narrative ideas. But Ravel conjures with the orchestra perfumes, smells, vistas, landscapes, with the most wonderful brushstrokes. And of course it also features the chorus. And their role is to provide atmosphere from a distance, without words, just the colour of quiet singing. The thing that surprises me every year about the Hallé is the enormous amount of variety that we put in our programmes. One of the concerts in the spring, when we do the 2nd cello concerto, is Mahler's 5th Symphony. Mahler's music has become very, very close to me in these years that I've been working with the Hallé. The orchestra loves playing this 5th Symphony. It's a very dramatic and ultimately optimistic work that ends in a blaze of energy. And I'm so thrilled that we have a chance to play it for the audience again. It's obviously important in putting together a new season to organise the work of the choir in a well-balanced way. You can't put all 4 pieces that they're going to do within 2 months. And I think their next season is a very exciting one because it has many things that will be familiar. Messiah is always a challenge, but it's least familiar. There are 2 other big works in the season for the choir that they haven't sung for many, many years. One is a late mass by Haydn. In the last years of his life, Haydn wrote some very, very great sacred music. Music that can be very powerfully performed in the concert hall. Of course, it can be in a large church. It can be equally exciting. But we're going to do the Nelson Mass. And this is a great vehicle for the choir, but a very different sort of vehicle because this music is classical. It has 4 soloists with it, of course, but the choir's participation is extremely dramatic and colourful. By contrast, the other work is the great final Mass of Beethoven, the Missa Solemnis, one of the hardest works in the choral repertoire to sing, and it's high time that the choir was stretched to their limit by tackling this wonderful work. One of the programmes that excites me the most is early on in the season, the beginning of November. We're going to do a programme inspired by the First World War, by that period of our nation's history that was so fraught with tension, with tragedy, and with pain. And it will start with A Shropshire Lad by George Butterworth, which is a piece the orchestra and I have done many times, but not in one of these Thursday concerts. And it's a very moving, rather bleak, wistful postlude to some gorgeous songs that Butterworth wrote before he went off to the First World War, never to return. But the choir will be featured in this great work of Elgar's, The Spirit of England. It was the finest war piece that Elgar wrote. He wrote many shorter and less significant pieces, but this work lasts about half an hour for soprano, soloist and choir in 3 movements, 3 separate poems, celebrates those who lost their lives in the war. And each movement is more moving than the last one. Also in that programme, to complete the picture of the First World War, I've found a work by Arnold Bax, whose music I'm quite drawn to, but I haven't done very much of it. And this work is called In Memoriam. It was written in memory of one of the 16 Irishmen who was killed, brutally killed, by the British in 1916 as a result of the uprisings in Ireland. And he was a charismatic young man, he was a lawyer, and Bax had met him and admired him very much. And when he heard of his death, he felt moved to write this expansive 15-minute work for a large orchestra to somehow grieve at his passing. And we're going to conclude the concert with Sibelius's Fifth Symphony. Bax admired Sibelius very much, and there is this easy connection between the two men, both late Romantic individualists. But Sibelius's music has long been a great favourite with our audience. But perhaps what some of them don't know is that Sibelius worked on his Fifth Symphony as the war became more imminent, and towards the end of the second movement that seems so bucolic, so pastoral, so charming, there are dark thunderclouds that begin to creep into the music. There are altogether unsettling phrases and noises, as if he was aware that they were on the edge of a very, very difficult time in Europe. We have many conductors coming back next season who will be familiar to the audiences. A particular favourite of mine is my predecessor, the ex-principal conductor of the orchestra, Stan Skrovaczewski. And he is a grand old man of music making, and the orchestra have a wonderful respect for him, and he's well loved by the public. And we hope that he will be strong enough to come and do another programme with us in Manchester. But to balance his seniority, his maturity, we've invited two younger conductors to come for the first time. Firstly, there is a young Estonian conductor, Olari Elts, and his reputation precedes him. He's already made a great impact in his concerts, and I think this is just the right time for him to come and introduce himself to the Hallé. So as you can see, the variety that the Hallé provides its audience is enormous, and there's something for everybody. And I hope that you will be prepared to commit and support us and believe in us as we try yet again to bring music live into people's lives.